Good morning. It is Tuesday. Feels like a Monday because we had Monday off, or at least you guys had Monday off. And we have a 4 for here. 2 questions from section 2.1 on rational numbers and the other 2 questions from section 2.2 on operations with rational numbers in decimal form. So the first question says, what's a decimal between -3/8 and -3/4? Now, traditionally, what would you do first? You would change both of those fractions to what? Decimals. And if you did so, you would say this is -0.375. Or if you didn't know that, you would say, oh, how do I do that again? Oh, yeah, take the numerator, divide it by the denominator. That's how you get that. And -3/4, I'm hoping everybody knows it's that without having to go too far. Now, how many decimals exist between those? The answer is infinite. But remember, the game is always for the extra quarter-point bonus. What decimal did Mr. McDonald choose? And I definitely chose a -0.5, right? And if you really thought about it, without knowing what this decimal is it more or less than half? Less than half. Is this more or less than half? More. So you now know you have something that's more than half and less than half. And without doing much thinking, Abby, you could probably say, well, half is between something that's more than half and less than half. So we could just say a half, just like that. But either way, that's how you do it. Unless you're Sophie. And then Sophie probably found a common denominator of 8 and made equivalent fractions. No, you didn't. Okay, good. Next question is a fraction between here. And there are 2 ways to do it. The first way is to find a decimal between there. And for those people that struggle, they're like, well, I don't know a decimal between there. If you put a 0 at the end of each, and then think of a number between it, you can then say, okay, I get it. This decimal is between here, right? At which point you could then say, okay, it says, I now know a decimal between there, but now I have to say what a fraction is. If you can read that properly, that's 125 thousandths, which is therefore 125 thousandths. And if you're extra special, and you know what's going on, and you know what's what, you know that that's not in lowest terms. And if you knew that both the numerator and denominator is divisible by 125, which most of you probably didn't, you would know that 125 thousandths is 1/8 as a fraction in lowest terms. I think we've always had it because I think I've now mentioned that 3 times. The other way you could do it is the way that Sophie first said when we first got in here, and she was like, well, just do this. Just take it to 12 hundredths and 13 hundredths. Since I don't know a fraction between there, add a 0 to both. Really what I've done there is I've multiplied both numerator and denominator by 10 to create 2 equivalent fractions. And now we could choose a whole bunch of different ones, but that fraction is between there, which in lowest terms is still 1/8. Okay? Just out of curiosity, how many did it the first way? Changed them both to decimals first and then found a decimal between it and then translated that to fractions. How many did it this way? Okay. Either way is fine. I prefer the first, but it doesn't matter which one you do. The next 2 questions are from section 2.2. First step is always to estimate. Always do your estimation. That way you can always check to make sure your answer is reasonably appropriate, especially with signs. What do you have more of, positives or negatives? I have more positives. How many more is the difference between positives and negatives? So you subtract them, borrow, 8, 1. Since that's that many more positives, your answer is positive 1.8. And your last question, estimate only division of decimals. Round to the nearest whole number. Your estimation would be a pretty simple -8.